Gentlemen, we just want to shed some light on the actually new agency models and vendor models that arise from the whole different technologies that provide and that can add value for advertisers. And since many of you have an agency background or actually are agencies, what is how would you describe your offering to clients? My assumption would be that first reaction probably, if you offer them just online media in a new way, is not that they expect to be confronted with completely new models. Is that the case, or is that pretty easy to explain to clients? How does that look like? Maybe Erik?
Well, actually, I didn't fund the company, but I acquired the company something like two years ago, and my background is from an advertiser's perspective, and that's why we brought a different approach to that kind of agency, or actually we're not sure whether we want to call it agency model or it's rather a hybrid model compared to business consultants and managed services. So when we sat down and looked at our asset, we said, okay, we have a client relationship and we have very skilled staff on the ground, but the majority of our experience, since my background is from an advertiser perspective for the last 11 years, and I've been facing the situation that I found out that the highest level of market efficiency didn't come from those big spenders or those multi-channel spenders. The highest efficiency I've seen in practicing online marketing at the very, very early years was from pure plays. So actually, like you said, like we said before, money don't shoot any goals. I've seen that there is a gap from traditional media agency models and performance agency models, that they didn't go beyond a certain barrier, like there would be a Chinese wall between the insights on a advertiser sites, the value of data was wasted in the moment where campaign information and cost of acquisition was negotiated or was dealt with agency structures. So I don't want to blame the old model the traditional model of media agencies, but we found out that it's rather helpful in order to enable advertisers, to help them to make smart marketing decisions and to acquire media. Instead of being involved in very conflicting issues like being always obliged in touching a percentage of media spend or being rather involved in arbitrage models. So we set our structure up on a purely fee basis, so we charge by the mandate, by the hour, and that's our kind of model.
Okay, then that sounds actually a little bit different to what the traditional media agency model would look like, because it's not so much driven apparently from how much money is being spent on media, but based on what work you actually put into the services that you give for clients, right?
Yeah, right. So we're not, well, like a smart media decision doesn't need to there's no correlation with the amount of money spent, so we also are helping our advertising, setting up the right infrastructure, like said, third-party technology. We, of course, in order to be neutral, we don't sell our own technology because we don't have any. But we're helping them in order to make a smart decision, which kind of tech support the advertisers should use themselves. So actually, we like enabling to do that. We do media audits. We are helping we also do body lease for advertisers in order to send our guys in order to really enable them to learn how to use these tools themselves. Because I come from the direct response industry, and I've seen that, well, of course, we all have been very influenced by the SEM business, that SEM showed us very, very, very early that those guys who actually insourced SEM, not only because it wasn't any attractive anymore for the traditional media agencies when the Google kickback went down, we've seen that SEM was a starting point for advertisers to learn how to really compete on that field with an issue where the item, the inventory, is acquired on an auction basis.
Okay, Kolja, charging by the mandate your clients, is that also a model that you choose, or how do you place your offering to clients?
So first of all, we're not an agency, so we have completely other pricing models with our clients. Mostly we have fixed price models, and we work more on focus on the business outcomes of the client. So it's more performance driven than on a mandate basis. So focus is on finding the right audience, defining the real KPIs for the client, which are the real campaign goals, more than decreasing buying CPM or CPC, something like that, then more than defining business outcomes and try to buy the right inventory focused on these business goals for the clients. And we just sell it for fixed price models, and we're working on these goals. For instance, when we have a client and he defines his CPO or his ROI goal should be XYZ, then we have a fixed amount of money spending on finding the right audience and hitting the predefined goal for the client.
Okay. Is that an approach that is specifically tailored to performance-oriented client, or the same approach would work for branding-oriented clients that doesn't sell anything through the web, for instance?
Well, it depends on the predefined KPIs of the client. So some clients are branding-oriented clients. They just want to achieve a higher net reach. So we try to define an amount of net reach they wanna have beside their normal or traditional media planning. So it works for branding campaigns as well as for performance campaigns.
Okay. Julian, from the view of a very performance-oriented agency, as far as I understand mediascale, is the new way of purchasing media inventory, display inventory through RTB, is that a big shift at all, or is that pretty easily to implement into an existing agency model from your view?
Well, basically for us it's probably pretty easy because we are used dealing on a different way than a normal agency with media reach. So we are used to pooling reach. We are used to doing arbitrage wave on a performance base, and we also use different channels to get that reach and transfer it to kind of orders, clicks, whatever. So for us as an agency or a performance-based agency, this was pretty easy. So we are coming out of a performance way. We went to a targeting system, so we offer a targeting system, starting with a retargeting system for 4 years now, and we're going into that general targeting right now, and therefore we need different ways of buying reach on different partners, on different publishers, and therefore we are used to do that.
Your partner, Wolfgang Bescheid, recently didn't seem to be completely convinced that RTB adds very, very much value to the table. How's your personal view? I mean, do you see just by having access in an automated way to inventory is something that can generate uplift by its own, or does it really depend on data that is, as we all know, not really existent apart from the first-party data that the advertiser brings by himself? And I believe that was the most critical point that Wolfgang sees. Yeah.
So basically, I'm on the way with Wolfgang. What we learned out of all of our campaigns is that data is the key for doing successful performance-oriented campaigns. Doesn't matter whether it's a normal campaign or a targeting campaign or whatever. So if we have a DSP which offers us some reach, then we also need the data to be able to judge that reach and tell our customers whether that will work or not. And there I'm with Wolfgang. Because he just said, well, you know, the problem for RTB is that there has to be a combination out of reach on a certain price for a certain audience and the data which helps me judging whether this reach is necessary for me or for my clients. And as long as we don't know how to generate the right data for our customers, I'm not talking about retargeting, because at retargeting we have the data, you know, this is not a big deal. But if we're talking about targeting for example, also for branding campaigns, there we need data which we do not have right now in the way we would need it. And then we have a problem also with the DSP, but we also have the problem with all the other ways of buying reach, because just the combination out of reach and data helps us helps us constructing the right product for our clients.
Okay, Bobby, can you explain and touch on how Xaxis actually positions itself in the market, especially being part of Group M, and there's companies like Quizma who are big in performance marketing, and Mediacom Interaction. How do you sell yourself?
So I'm a little bit in a double rule. So regarding Xaxis, we aren't really an agency. We are a product development unit. And we are strongly focusing on our advertisers' benefits and advantages. And we came to the point several years ago that it's not the environment that gives the best that gives us the best access regarding media planning. It's really the audiences. So the audiences has to be into the focus of our media planning, buying, and optimization. So we decided really to build up our own targeting system, which not only covers technology, our own technology, but also an inventory pool, and also, of course, at the end, data. So we built out our own data management platform, where we have first-party data, coming from advertisers if they allow us to track their data. We also buy third-party data, and then the biggest amount really comes through our second-party data, which is data that we model, where we build based on lookalikes, some specific algorithm, our own data intelligence and our own data pools.
Okay.
And at the end, at the end we bundle all this. So we bundle technology, we bundle inventory, and we bundle the data. And the result is then an audience product, which we then offer to the clients of our agencies.
Okay, so it's not even being perceived as an agency model, but basically it's a solution that you put a price on, and either the client likes it or not, and can negotiate maybe it's usually been done with a publisher or a sales house, so you don't see a conflict there.
No, because we have, of course, we have different pricing models. And it also, I mean, it strongly depends if it's on the KPIs and on the goals of the advertiser. But at the end, most of these prices are fixed and are really a combination about technology, ad serving, the data included, the inventory included. So everything is included. It's a package for careless package you can buy.
Okay. Tanzil, when looking 10 years back, my impression with search was that the large agencies first tried to handle agencies and the new dynamics that came with it from existing structures. And what we saw, at least especially in Germany, but probably internationally as well, is that small, little independent search specialists came up. Some of them built their own technologies and just overtook the traditional ones on the left lane in handling and acquiring big search budgets. From what you see in the entire European market and from what you hear today, do you think these new companies that are built by huge international agency groups is something that's based on the learning what went wrong with search, so that they now go quickly and found specialists, or what would be your impression?
So given that some of these guys on the panel are our clients, I've got to be careful what I say here. No, I think, I remember when I started out with the exchange space 6 years ago, we approached the agencies and we talked to them and we said, look guys, you need to engage with this space. This space is going to be the next iteration of what's going to happen in display. And they told us to go away very, very clearly. We have an agency model and we have an agency commission. If you can accommodate that in the auction, we're happy to engage. And if not, then our agency model is what it is. And so, back when search started, the smaller agencies, the smaller organizations found a niche and started to develop an offering. And that's what happened here in display. Fortunately, I think the agencies have realized this much quicker than what they did with search. And we're finding that a lot of the the good developments are actually coming from the agencies now. They're starting to engage and deliver offerings. Now, I think the key thing is it's about understanding where the responsibility lies. Responsibility of planning a campaign and then delivering the report back on how the campaign ran was primarily where the agencies had the strong points. We're now seeing that there's a lot more ownership of actually delivery of the campaign, delivery of the optimization, actually influencing the optimization. To Bobby's point, trying to take the data and model aspects of the data so that they can bring something to the table. And all of that is actually adding a significant amount of value. And I think the other thing is, it's not only about the technology. There's a significant amount of emphasis that needs to be put on individuals. It's the expertise, it's the personnel, it's the ownership of relationships. And the agencies are well positioned for that. Yes, they were slow in the uptake, but I think they're catching up very, very quickly.
Okay. Traditionally, bargaining power, Einkaufsmacht, was a big asset of larger agency groups because they obviously had more money they could put on the table when negotiating contracts. Now with RTB, where we said a couple of times today, basically an impression is being sold to the actual buyer that it provides the most value to. Does that mean that actually the pricing discussion goes back to square one? Is all that negotiating power gone? Julian, what do you think?
Well, actually, I don't think so. I think RTB will also be a channel for us, which we will use. But still, we have some areas in reach where RTB will not take part for the next 12 to 24 months, because publishers will always keep that area away from RTB platforms. Why? Ask the publisher. So, and in these areas, the size of an agency and the buying power of an agency still is a point. But at the end, I think this will not decide the battle for getting good results for a customer. But the battle will be combining good data with good reach. That will be the point at the end. And how much money you have to pay for the reach is a different point, but this will not be the crucial thing at the end. That's what we learn right now. So for us as a for us three as a more or less big agency, it will be harder because we have to compete not just getting good prices, but we also have to compete in getting good consultancy, good products, good ways of defining the right way of campaign. And this is our target for the next years. And there we all have to learn. I mean, there we are not the specialists right now. We all not.
But to come to this point, so I still strongly believe that volume and aggregation power is really an advantage. So if you are able really to generate volume, this also means that you have a better chance really to collect data, because the more you are out, the more data you are able to collect, and data is also a new currency. And based on this volume that you are generating, based on these data that you are collecting through your campaigns, this gives you then another advantage. Perhaps not really on the negotiated prices at the end, but then on another level, I have more knowledge about my data, and I have more data.
Erik?
From an advertiser's point of view, I would not really agree. On the one hand, you got to look, if you look on an advertiser's business plan. Of course, I'm referring only to the direct response industry and the performance market. Well, what are we talking about actually? So my impression is that it's kind of wishful thinking that publishers are going to keep their high CPM and of course margin for everyone who is interfering with that business as high. But by the end of the day, we are talking about a share of wallet of traditional display, if you want to call it, the less, well, whatever the net price might be, but significantly less than 20% if you count SEM with it. So, and we're seeing huge players like Facebook going to the market, and no matter whether it's a pure Facebook API or very, very powerful tools, mainly develop in the UK and Israel, helping advertisers to use that kind of push marketing effort. I'm afraid that, or not I'm afraid, I see the majority of the inventory we are going to acquire is going to be traded on an auction basis. And as far as I understood, is that the auction basis is the opposite of purchasing power. The more you need, the more expensive it gets. But which is, of course, getting a very high focus on the data. Because if you are participating on an auction and you want to be smarter than your competitor, you need to define exactly what kind of cost per bidding you can afford. And I don't see at least in the German landscape, I don't have the impression, unlike what I've seen in the UK, I don't have the impression that the traditional major media agencies are going that way. I think purchasing power is not important anymore.
Yes, I think in the same way. It will take us some time, definitely. Then we will be there, and then buying power will not be as important as it is actually. And in the next step, data will be our enabler to leverage this performance, data and technology to combine. All the data keeping in several silos, actually. So when we have the right technology to combine all this data within one data platform, the data, the technology, and then the publishers giving their inventory in exchange platforms, the part of media inventory sold via exchange platforms will increase, and then the buying power will be more or will be less important.
So just a perspective. I think buying power to go away is an ideal. With all, even to even the market, I think it makes sense. I think the reality, if we look at what history has shown us, is it doesn't really go that way. So as publishers will evolve their business models to accommodate real-time bidding, we have generation of things like private marketplaces, and private marketplaces will then be automated delivery of campaigns, so your impressions are delivered. The point that is negotiated will be who has first look at the inventory, and that negotiation will be dependent on what would be the total volume you can bring to the table as a buyer. So the question of trying to understand buying power at an impression level, I agree with you, I think is going to go. I think agencies that have buying power today are always going to be in a strong position, where they're able to deliver campaigns based on what the publisher's requirements are. Because the publishers are the one party that buyers very rarely talk about. And they're also trying now to accommodate the space, accommodate the developments, and really try to work out how it impacts them. And then the one other thing that we always forget is the people who have the buying power don't only buy online display. They're buying offline display. They have complete campaigns. And when you look across the board, delivery, and as those mediums start to become intertwined, and as those mediums become bought via automated channels, then buying power is going to have some value, no matter where you go. It's just not going to be applied in the same way that it has been in the past.
Okay. In terms of technology, I mean, we saw a couple of times today, and Tanzil, you had in your presentation also the different rectangles, the pieces of technology that need to be provided to make the entire dealing of data-driven display efficient. This technology stack, will that be something that can be developed by the buying side, for instance, or the sales side, or at the end of the day, might Google be one player that comes up with an end-to-end solution, and from an advertiser's perspective, maybe ideal way offers that out for free to the advertisers? Tanzil, what's your view?
So I'm going to be biased with that answer, aren't I?
Yeah.
Everybody should use Google.
Everyone.
There's no other
biased,
option. No, I think the reality is it comes back. There's aspects of what you need to do when you're buying media and when you're selling media that is currently provided by multiple technologies. I think this is going to go the way, and the reason these technologies exist is because, I mean, clearly, the core function of an ad server has always remained the core function of an ad server, and yield optimization was always done as a byproduct. The reality is, I think a lot of the ad servers, both on the buy side and sell side, will start to catch up and develop functionalities which deliver yield optimization, which deliver data management, which deliver ROI optimization. And so as those technologies merge, then I think you can find organizations, and Google will be one of them, which provide the end-to-end stack. I think the other point that people still need to realize is we talk about buyers and sellers as two separate entities. We're already seeing a lot of publishers who are buyers. And for them, their data on the sell side is the data that they want to apply on the buy side. What happens to those? They need to have the technology and the data flow. Cyclically. So I do think there's a space to have an integrated solution. But at the same time, I think there will, once again, history has always shown, there will always be point players who do things better in that one environment. And if that's your key focus, then you may well go with a point player for that particular aspect. Otherwise, you take the best of what's available. And if you're only a buyer, then you take the best buy-side stack. If you're a seller, you take the best sell-side stack. And if you're a bit of everything, then you've got a different problem to handle.
Being in the online marketing business for several years, so I strongly believe that really online marketing is 50% technology, and the other 50% are figures and reports and whatever. So it had nothing to do with marketing. It's more about you have to be very, you have to be able to manage technology, and you have to be able somehow to manage data and figures. So I think really you need to have at least an own technology approach, even also as a media, especially as a media agency, because it gives you credibility. Because you know then what you're talking about. Doesn't mean that you have to build everything by your own, but at least there are so many special needs perhaps for you as particular business, whereas no one that offers the right technology for. So it has to be, you have to be able, or you have to be in the position to develop this technology if you really need this. Also another really important point is USP. So what's your USP if everyone uses the same technology? And scamming hard, so of course it could be analytics, but sometimes it makes sense also to have your USP in other areas, and this could then at the end also be technology.
Maybe one thing more is next to the reports and the technology, I think the job for an agency or for someone who is dealing with direct customers will be more well, let's say a consultant at that point, because if we are talking about audiences to our customer, then our customers today are used to thinking in about, well, I'm calling the publisher and I'm asking for 30 to 49 with whatever I want to have, and they deliver and everything is fine. So, and if we're talking about audiences today, it's a different job, and to make that job happen, we need different people there, and at the end, the technology has to deliver what we want to have and what we have to deliver for our customer. But in the first point, this is a consultant job. We have to talk to customers about their audiences, how to reach their audiences, how to talk to them on the customer life cycle, and this is different from everything we've done for the last years. I mean, we're going there, but we are not at the end right now.
But does that also mean that you still believe in developing your own independent technology, or wouldn't it make sense then to just focus on the consulting part, like Erik said, and maybe just use third-party technologies from the rack?
Well, there I'm going with Bobby. I mean, some technology, we don't have to develop a new ad server. There are 20 ad servers, so why don't we have to deliver the 21st? But still on technology which is existing and where are specialists developing these technologies, you still have customers' needs which force us to plug in something new just for our customers, and this is what we are doing right now. So we take some standards and just go on developing these standards further for our needs or for the needs of our customers. So it's a mixture.
Okay. I actually do still have a couple of questions prepared, but I want to take the time to open this up to the audience. So if you have some questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and then we can take those. Any questions?
Friday evening.
No, everyone wants to go home? Okay, not yet. Then just one more topic that I want to touch upon before we wrap this up. Data. There's also been a couple of times that players like Facebook and Google obviously have huge amounts of data that are very, very interesting from an advertiser perspective, that give insights on users that can be theoretically at least employed for advertising. And at the same time, new companies that are being built heavily engage in building up their own data pools. Again, biased answers, obviously, but Tanzil, can you shed some light if or how far we are actually away from Google opening up their treasure to the advertisers market?
Okay, so the standard response: data, Google, no comment. Okay. No, I think the reality is, I mean, the data that Google owns or Google has access to is an aggregation of everybody's data, and not something that we'll probably share anytime soon. The reality is the data's there though, and so I mean, if there's an SEM or if there are organizations who, for their clients, have that data, then we want to make sure that the platforms make it easy for them to take that data and for them to apply it. But I don't think you'll see us selling our data very, very soon.
Okay. Then probably, Bobby, that was the answer why companies like Xaxis don't wait for others to come up with that data, but start collecting it themselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, no questions. Facebook and Google, they have massive data and also very valuable data, but we shouldn't forget that there are also other players like, just to name some, eBay, Amazon, whatever, some special travel sites. They also have a lot of data which they can offer, which also gives a specific volume, perhaps not on a broader reach, but perhaps for specific needs. So if I really have some data from some special travel websites, this could be very valuable to optimize my campaigns for some big travel advertisers. So there is, apart from Google and Facebook, there are still some other sources which we can use.
Which is good, so.
I think I mentioned this earlier on as well today.
But I would call you, Tanzil, as soon as you changed your mind.
I'll wait for your call. No, I think I mentioned this earlier. I think rather than trying to find new data and really trying to aggregate more and more data, I think that the first step is trying to understand how better to use the data you have. I mean, I think a lot of agencies and a lot of buyers and a lot of advertisers have reams and reams of data, and they do nothing with it. So I think the first step, and trust me, with the volume of data that I know some of these advertisers and buyers have, I mean, 2-3 years from now, and they still have enough data to work through. So I think the key thing is try to find ways, technologies, and I think somebody mentioned people, even the analysts, the skill sets to be able to understand and mine that data, make that data actionable. Once we get past that, then I mean, there are many other sources where data is going to be available, and I mean, we'll see what happens with Facebook and Google.
Okay, yeah, everyone will be interested to see that. So, letzte Chance, würde ich sagen, nochmal den Arm zu heben für Fragen, gerne auf Englisch oder Deutsch. Ich glaube, das können wir beides verkraften. Okay, dann würde ich einfach sagen, nutzen wir die Gelegenheit, ein bisschen Zeit aufzuholen. Thank you very much to all of you for participating. It was great fun. And ja, vielen Dank ans Publikum und weiter viel Spaß.